Hello, in this video I want to describe the strategic choices regarding which country to select as a starting location for your base, and also which countries have good satellite bonuses in general. Um, Now, let's start from South America, since we have Argentina first. The Argentina bonus is one of the best I have seen as far as I'm concerned for a starting location, because you get plus 5 will for all the soldiers. That's 5 ability points essentially. This is actually slightly worse than the Australia one, which is like plus 5 ability points, not just will, because they can go everywhere. However, they're pretty close. Now Brazil. Oh, the bonus for Argentina when you put the satellite is actually plus 20% gold from abductions, which is actually a pretty good bonus now that I've computed it. Essentially, it means about 80 if you're successful in about 4 abductions that happen every month. That means about 80 cash more every month. Brazil. This bonus, the Jungle Scouts, is actually okay if you are interested in the early game, because you get like to use 3 items instead of 2 on the early armors. The plus 15 bonus to research credits is actually a lousy bonus, because you normally get 10% bonus to research credits from interrogations anyway when you put the satellite over Brazil. The continent bonus, which is minus 30% on building power and the power maintenance, that gives you a small benefit every month. Essentially, think you're going to have something like 4 or 5 power plants, and you get something like 5 to 10, 5 to 7 cash less in maintenance for each one. So that approximately comes to something like 30, 35 a month. So you see that it's actually less than the country bonus for Argentina, in fact. Now let's go to North America. North America actually has the best, by far the best, continent bonus. So the continent bonus for North America is like minus air superiority, which is minus 20% less cash. Also, not just cash. So it's the maintenance is 25% less. So that means basically that the interceptors costs, the maintenance costs 10 cash less than normal, and given that you're going to have something like 20 interceptors on average in the game, in some towards the end of the game you might get close to 30, which is like the limit. That actually is an amazing bonus. In fact, it's not just on the aircraft purchase, and also purchasing the interceptors now costs 25% less, so that's 50% less cash for every purchase. And but also it's the weapons that cost 25% less, and that includes the alloys and the Elerium as far as I checked. So you absolutely want to get the continent bonus for the US, Canada and Mexico, North America as fast as you can. It's by far the best bonus in the game. Now Canada, the starting bonuses, we have basically that you start with a laboratory or a workshop. That actually can be a bad issue because you're going to have power issues. As far as I remember, you will have almost no power to build anything, but those two things cost about 200 each cash, so that's about 400 cash benefit. But if you count the maintenance as well, that's going to be less. So I wouldn't take that. And you can the other bonus is you can start with 4 corporals in the barracks. That's about 12 promotions. It can be useful in the early game, but by month 2 or 3 I don't think it will make much difference. Now let's go to Mexico, which is the next country. So Mexico. Oh, and I should also mention that Canada has a very good, fairly good bonus when you put a satellite, which you lose if you start there. You can't basically get that. The base bonus overrides the satellite bonus for covering the country. So the satellite bonus is +2 will for medics and engineers, and that means basically 2% less chance for any psi attack against them, and +2% chance for your psi attacks. And normally I tend to make my medics and engineers into psi soldiers because they actually get a lot of bonus will from their promotions. Now Mexico, the normal bonus for getting a satellite over Mexico is 10% bonus psi training chances. That's actually pretty good. Actually, one of the starting bonuses is that you can double that and get 20% bonus to psi training chances, which is actually fairly good. Not outstanding, but it's fairly good. Or you can start the campaign with the Illuminator gun sight item, which is actually like an enhanced scope. It gives you +12 aim and crit chance. The normal scope is like +8, and also gives you the executioner bonus. It's good, and it can help you a lot in the early game, but I wouldn't go crazy about it. And the last bonus for Mexico is that you start with 500 bonus cash. That's basically just going to help you in the first month, so I wouldn't take that ever. Now the US. The US's bonus when you cover it is actually not all that great. So if you start, one of the starting bonuses is 75% reduction in the time to complete autopsies and interrogations. That's actually not a great bonus. They don't normally take that long, and you can play the game in such a way that it won't make a huge difference in how much you're going to save on research time, but it can be okay. The normal US bonus is 25% reduction. I don't think that's a great bonus, but it's okay. Now the other starting bonuses is you can have all the elevators built and excavation cost reduced by 500. That's worth about 600 cash in total that you would have spent otherwise. And the other thing is you can get like much cheaper OTS projects. That's worth about 15 to 1600 cash, but throughout the whole game, so not just at the beginning. I would not take that either. Now another great country to start in is actually Australia. Australia, I think hands down that's the best bonus that you can have. It's basically +5 ability points, which can mean like more mobility, more aim, more defense. Basically it's amazing. Now the bad news is that the bonus for Australia is also fairly good if you use the satellite and it gets overwritten, which is basically +2 aim for every new gunner and rocketeer, and those classes actually can use the +2 aim. Other countries in there, and the continent bonus is the second best as far as I'm concerned in the game after North America, which is basically that the foundry projects, all their costs are reduced by 25%, cash, alloy and tellurium, and you are actually going to spend a lot of cash and a lot of alloys and tellurium on those foundry projects. So 25% less is going to make a huge difference in the game. I'm trying to go for this bonus second. Now other countries in Asia is China, and basically the normal bonus for China when you cover it with satellite is 34% cash from alien corpse and wreck sales, which actually is fairly decent in the sense that especially in the early game you would or actually throughout the game probably you will sell bodies for cash. So the 34% means that, for example, thin men which sell for 3 will now sell for 4. Well, with this starting bonus, you actually get 50% more cash, and instead of 4, you get 6. So this is decent, but not great. Other bonuses, you can start with a workshop and repair bay. Actually, that's not a very good one, so I will never take it. Or you can get a 50% reduction in gene mod, mail and cast cost and modification time, which is okay, but generally I haven't I haven't found that you need to do too many gene modes, and the cash, and by the time you need to do them, the cash cost is not going to be really that much of an issue. Meld, always good if you can save it, but I think there are much better bonuses overall. Now let's go to India. India, you start with 2 additional interceptors and the Elerium Afterburners Foundry project. Elerium Afterburners is not an absolutely essential project, and the 2 interceptors basically mean plus 400 cash, so I would never take it. Plus also the bonus for India that you get from the satellite coverage is okay, in the sense that you get plus 5% more research increase per adjacency, which essentially double the adjacency bonus to that of a full workshop, so that's actually fairly good. Now Japan, the other country. Japan normally has a bonus, let me look it up. Japan has a bonus of plus 2 aim for Civ and mechs, which actually you can get a starting bonus that makes it like plus 5, but basically then this is the plus 5 aim is just for civs and mechs, so a bit limited. I'll just do the satellite coverage and guess the plus 2, in fact. Now you can also have a master sergeant, but that just means 7 promotions. It can make a big difference in the early game, but I'm not going to go crazy about it. You won't use civs all that much throughout the campaign. You want to basically get experience for your soldiers rather than use civs, although it could be useful sometimes, so I don't think this is a great bonus. And having 3 additional steam vents will make a small difference in the starting game, but essentially it's not a very good bonus either. And have we forgotten any other country? No. I think we covered all of them. Yes. So now let's go to Africa. And let's start from here. So the Africa bonus is that laboratories and workshop cost 30% less to build and maintain. Now in the game you can actually, I normally build like up to 2 laboratories and up to about 5 workshops, so that means 60 less for each one. That's basically 500 cash. You also get 30% less maintenance, which if I remember correctly, that's so let's say, so that's I think 20 or 30 every month, so that's like 5 to 7 less times 7, that's about 40 less. So it's actually not a bad bonus, but I would say it comes tied as third with Europe in how much benefit you get. It's definitely not a necessity right at the beginning. Now, South Africa. The country bonus for South Africa is plus 2 defense for snipers and scouts. Now the plus 2 defense on scouts is actually useful. On the snipers I can do without it, so but at some point I'd like to get it. So you can start actually with these 2 foundry projects, which are a must when it's basically the first projects I normally do when I get the foundry up and running. You can save a fair amount of money. I think those are fairly expensive projects, but you'll save something like 400 cash or 500 cash. I'll have to check that. And you'll save a fair amount of meld, which is I think 140 meld if I remember correctly for those 2 projects, which is actually the big difference. And some Elerium and alloys and weapon fragments, but I don't think that's so this could be a decent starting bonus, but generally I don't want to do starting bonuses which are things that I can buy down the road, even if I have to pay them a fair amount. And the other starting bonus is that all soldiers receive plus 1 hit point. Actually that's pretty decent, in fact, because plus 1 hit point right at the beginning means soldiers who survive longer, they spend less time in sick bay, injured, so that's pretty good. Nigeria. So Nigeria, the normal bonus of Nigeria, if you put a satellite over them, is minus 20% reduction in site training time, which is actually fairly good. In fact, the starting bonus is even better, because essentially 50% reduction in site training time means that you can have like twice as many people in the Scilab training at all times compared to not having it. 20% reduction means instead of 3 you can have essentially 4, just one third more approximately. It's a good bonus, I would say. I'm not going to go crazy over it. This is actually a very good bonus too. So all soldiers receive +1 mobility. I think that's one of the best bonuses. But you do lose the one that reduces the 20% site training time if you get it. So I don't know. It's up to you basically. And then the last country is Egypt, which has 2 bonuses. So you can start with the Advanced Repair Foundry project, which means like that your airplanes and ships are going to repair much faster, and also your gear, but yeah, that's not very much of an issue early on. You can get that down the road. It's not very expensive, but that Foundry project, but it could help your early game, especially your Air Force, if you're not careful. The other one is actually pretty good. So all fatigue from everything but the normal fatigue time drops by 50%. So that means psi power, gene mods, officer ranks, they all cost half the days to basically out of the commission. And this goes also for the injury times as well. Now the normal EG bonus is minus 25% fatigue for gene mods only, so that's actually a pretty decent one, but this is has a much higher scope in the sense that I do officers. Officers tend to be out a fair amount because they get, I think, like 12 hours for every level or every rank of officer they get, and also the psi powers can be quite expensive when it comes to fatigue. That's one of the things I don't like. I think it should have been less in the game, but anyway. So finally the continent we have left is Europe. So Europe actually has a pretty decent bonus, not amazing but pretty decent. This about when you cover all the nations, and if you're not playing results driven, which is basically what I've been playing in my Ironman Impossible campaign, you can get like up to about 300 cash more per month by getting this small bonus. But this only really works when you're at the very end of the game. Mid game maybe like 150 more or something like that, 200 tops. Now the France bonus, the normal one, the one you get from the satellite, is actually let me see, it's minus 20% melt for all the mech weapons and systems. It's a must-have because basically everything you build for the, well, everything you build, like all the primary and secondary weapons for the melts, that's 20% less melt. And given that you tend to run out of melt in the game, I would say 20% less means you need to get France covered before you actually start building any of those. Now both the France bonuses are actually pretty lousy as far as I'm concerned. So this means like you get 20 additional soldiers in the barracks, so that translates to 500 cash, which actually you wouldn't spend because unless you're doing horribly, you don't want to get like 20 extra soldiers in the barracks. You don't need them. The other bonus is that requests happen 40% faster, and they give you 40% additional defense. Yes, the 40% fantasy is actually not that bad, but it's not like something that will help you immensely. Intel scans also cost 40% less. I tend to do 1 or 2 Intel scans per month for about like 6-7 months. That means 40% less. If you do 1, that's 20 less. If you do 2, that's 60 less. Let's say on average I do about 40 or 50 less per month, times 8 or something like that, or 10. That's maybe like worth 500 in cash. So again, not a great bonus. Germany now. So Germany, the normal satellite bonus for Germany is where is it? It's minus 15 CAS, alloys and tellurium for the weapons of mechs and civs. No meld reduction. It's decent. I wouldn't say that it's something that will make a huge difference. So let's see the bonuses for starting there. So you start with a foundry, that means like 200 CAS. It's laughable basically that you just get like 200 CAS savings. The construction time is reduced by 33%. Okay, that can help if you're in a rush. You'll never have to rush, but if you do correct planning, you'll never have to rush anyway. So I would say don't get this. Now here you get a 50% reduction in CAS alloy and tellurium for the weapons instead of 15%, which is the normal one. That's actually pretty decent, but I don't think it's a game-changing bonus anyway. Okay, that covers Germany. And now United Kingdom and Russia. So let's see Russia. Russia actually has a very good satellite bonus that I really like, which is plus 1 HP for all your assaults and infantry, especially for assaults that get targeted a lot. They're in the thick of things, getting very close to the enemy. The plus 1 HP makes a big difference, especially when they are early in their training. Infantry, because they're overwatching, they might get targeted as well, but or if you make one that suppresses, well, I normally don't. The plus 1 bonus is actually one of the better, the plus 1 HP bonus is one of the better bonuses that I've seen. And normally if you see my playthrough, you'll see that I like giving bonuses to my soldiers, because that make their life easier in the battles. I like those bonuses very much. Now the starting bonuses for Russia are okay but not great. So you start with the enhanced avionic project, which means that you get plus 10% to hit during the air combat. This basically means that you can do like defensive and stance very often, and you'll have a much higher chance to hit than it will be like almost 2-to-1, 2 hits for you and for things like scouts. So this makes a big difference in the early game, but given that you can get this project in some months time, if I remember correctly, I basically don't like to do bonuses which I can get down the road. Or you can start with an additional satellite uplink, and all satellites cost 50% less. Well, let's assume you launch 15 extra satellites and you'll also lose some. That means like that's 1500 CAS. That's actually a lot. And one satellite uplink, that's another 200 CAS. So this might give you like 2000 CAS overall, but I think you can get away with it anyway. And I really like the Russia bonus, the one with the satellite, and if you get like the starting location, then you lose those bonuses. And finally the UK. So this starting bonus is actually pretty decent, actually pretty good. If it was like plus 4 aim, I would say it's better than the plus 5 will. But plus 3 aim, it's 3 ability points. You can probably, I think plus 5 will means like 5% more chance to do psi damage or psi attacks, and minus 5% to get hit by mind control, mind frame, things like that. Plus 3 aim means that you consistently get like more, plus 3% more chance to hit the enemies, so it's decent, but I prefer the other ones. Also the UK bonus that you normally get if you do satellite coverage, that's like 15% less rank in the OTS, which is not amazing in the sense that, okay, you can get like the squad size to upgrade at about 100 promotion instead of 115, and the maximum one, which is like commanding field commanders, is basically at 150 promotions, and here you would get it at like 130 approximately. It's not going to make a huge difference, so the satellite bonus is not amazing. So this is a good starting bonus. Now, penetrator weapons means that you'll do extra damage, so it's even like the normal missiles, not the Stingray ones. The Avalanche missiles can actually do damage to lightly armored or lightly or medium armored UFOs, and they can be, you can use them instead of Stingrays. But I was going to say that I think you get this pretty fast anyway. Now, 33% reduction in ranks, like the 50%, I don't think it makes any difference. So I won't basically do any of those. Also notice, like in my playthrough, you can take a country that doesn't have a very good bonus for the continent, like I start in Argentina, but and then let the aliens shoot it, so and then go to another country. So actually, you always want to cover the first continent you want to cover first is the US, and then Asia. And then it's a toss between Africa and Europe, as far as I'm concerned. And I also like the bonuses which have to do with giving my soldiers extra aim, extra points in general, and things like that. So for starting bonuses, I would say the last time I played on Classic, I started in Australia, because then you can also cover Asia first, which is pretty good for the Foundry, and then I did the US. And then do the US. In this playthrough, I actually started in Argentina. Okay, yes, you do lose the approximately 80 cash that you would get extra from adductions every month, but I think it's a pretty good starting bonus, and I can abandon Argentina, which I was lucky to do, and therefore I then went to the US and covered the US, and now I'm starting to get more airplanes.